Online business is roughly the same maybe for, let's say a decade. But when you look into the channels, new channels pop up. So now we're fully into for instance, the social media advertising. It's coming, everybody does it, cost prices rise, and it's getting more competitive.
Welcome to another episode of the Ecommerce Toolbox Expert's Perspective. Joining us today, we have Jacky Lambert, all the way over from the Netherlands. Welcome, Jacky.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. So Jacky heads up e-commerce over at YourSurprise. So I'm curious to learn a bit more about Jacky, your career journey, and how you ended up as the director of e-commerce at YourSurprise. So maybe talk us through that.
Yeah, I would love to. Well, I started at Neckerman.com. That was some kind of big retailer. And started with a lot of marketing jobs, roles, like CRM and custom group management. And after, let's say, 14 years upon that, also did there some finance background, some assortment buying background, but most of the roles were marketing. And then jumped into Beate Uhse. Beate Uhse was some kind of erotic retailer. Been there working for 5 years. We're talking now about 2012. So then I headed fully into the online business because I thought, yeah, this is not a hype. This is really becoming the common business. Then it wasn't from a more international perspective, like we're working in 7 different countries, fully online focused. And after that, jumped for 7 years into Vakantielei. Vakantielei is travel and camping holidays. Again, as director of e-commerce, fully and online, trying to get the international expansion ahead. Then it was jumping from 7 to 13 countries. And then after 7 years, ended there as commercial director. I moved towards YourSurprise because of a great business. It's the gifting business for all kinds of events, B2B, B2C. So we can talk about that later, what kind of seasonalities we have. With in fact one simple task: make our growth even faster. And because of my experience in those last 10 years, so to say, we had a very good conversation up front, and I thought, well, okay, we have a lot of new and nice things which can expand our growth. So that's what I've been doing now for over 1 year, and some nice challenges and some nice successes as well. So it's going well.
Awesome. Obviously, you've been in e-com for over a decade now. Talk to us a bit about what are some of the largest things you've seen kind of switch in the industry in the last decade.
I think the main topic which comes back and forth again is the changing market landscape. So, online business is roughly the same maybe for, let's say a decade. But when you look into the channels, new channels pop up. So now we're fully into for instance, the social media advertising. It's common, everybody does it, cost prices rise, and it's getting more competitive. Let's say 5 years ago, we hardly ever heard of social media, as private persons, but not in social advertising as a company. TikTok is popping up, Google is still there, but look at the feed in Google, how it looks like and how it was 10 years ago. Also, that is changing almost week by week, so to say. So that's really a challenge to look really carefully into changing market landscape. Latest one is, of course, the whole AI part. It changes a lot again. But also some things are stable, like a P&L, a business model. In fact, it's always the same. You work with margins, you work with advertising spend per channel, and all those choices, the questions you need to ask to yourself, they are roughly still the same for years.
I love it. And you mentioned that you're kind of brought in to chase some growth. There's a couple different growth ways, right? You can scale into new markets, scale into existing markets. Maybe talk to us some of your tactics on how you've been able to chase growth and some of the things that you've seen work well.
I think one very important thing as well is the team approach. So what I've seen is that also almost every company that teams are used to some kind of way of working in the company, and they're almost stuck into that, a bit blindfolded for the new things, the new challenges. Maybe scary to change some things. And that's also an important thing that I always say, look carefully into your team. What contribution do they bring? What's the added value per person? And are they really developing within their role? And not only as a person, but with the commercial tactics they use. What are we going to test within each channel week by week? My principle is always test small. If successful, great, scale up. So team is an important thing. And what do I see as a growth? That at least you have an open mindset for that growth to try to do some things together, but also look from an overall perspective. So in my role, it's not only about how do we commercially approach it per channel. No, it's also about what is the influence on other departments. So if we choose for certain assortments to push, it has some effect on the buying department, and for sure, in our case as well, on the whole production department, because we produce everything for the whole for all Europe internally, which means if we push, for instance, a lot on chocolate as a gifting sector, that means a lot for the production as well. And looking into those KPIs and effects for all departments is a very important element, in my opinion, for creating growth.
Obviously, you're in the personalization and the gifting world. Maybe talk to me a bit about, obviously, since COVID, there's been a lot of upstarts that have kind of come in, some in this industry. How do you guys work on kind of sticking out in a crowded industry and make sure that you guys are the choice and the differentiated choice in all these different markets?
Yeah, I think that one strength of our company is that it's already there for 20 years. We're active now in 27 countries, so that's pretty a lot. And the strength of it, that everything was done internally with a group of people. It started really with a small group. At the moment in our peak periods, we work with 500 people, so it's a lot. We have a huge assortment, and we built everything on our own. So we have roughly 3,000 different articles, which are all instantly personalized with or names, subscription on something, or with photos on a product. It goes very fast, and I think that's an important advantage of a company. Yeah, you don't build such a machine by your own within a day. So one example to that, we build now our engraving machine for glasses. It's been a period of 2 years of development, but now we have a machine which is fully automated with the highest and best laser quality on the glasses. Yeah, that's an advantage to all those competitors, because it's not a glass from China with bad quality. No, it's really good quality. And if ordered today, tomorrow at your home, fully personalized. So I think the broadness of the assortment is one strength. The capability of producing it in high scale on ourselves instantly is an advantage. And of course, good knowledge about the markets and the online competitiveness within it.
You guys serve how many different countries? Like, just doing some research, it looks somewhere in the range of like 30 plus countries. Is that correct?
Yeah, 27. Yeah, in Europe. We deliver as well in US and in Canada, etc., and in Australia, but that's fully that. We don't have websites there. In those 27 countries, let's say Europe, we have fully URLs as an own website. And that's, of course, then for those 27 countries, that's as well where we do all the online marketing and all the websites development, everything.
How do you guys fulfill in all those different countries and in some cases different continents rather?
It differs. So the main, let's say, storyline with everything is that we look into seasonality peaks per country. For instance, in fact, we have 4 different peaks, which are Valentine is important, Mother's Day, Father's Day, and Christmas. And next to that, we have baseline campaigns, so to say, through the whole year, like birthdays, weddings, and so on. But those seasonality peaks differ per country. So not for Valentine's Day, because that's everywhere the 14th of February. But Mother's Day or Father's Day, for instance, Father's Day in Italy is in March. In Holland, it's in June, etc. So we try to look into those different peaks per country and try to adapt our commerce calendar, which means the whole go-to-market, like websites, newsletters, social media campaigns, are adapted to the seasonality peaks. That requires structure, that requires some kind of, let's say, way of working, of course. But that's all integrated into processes, and everybody is used to that. So that functions very well.
Amazing. So we just released our annual report, and one of the top things that when we interviewed over 50 people for it, one of the top things that people in your position kept bringing up was the expensive customer acquisition cost. The cost of acquiring new customers kept coming up as a theme. I'm curious to learn in your front, like, what are some of the things that you're looking at for 2025? Like, are you looking to acquire more customers and just beat down your CAC? Are you trying to get old customers that came in during COVID to re-engage? I'm curious how people in your position are actually looking at that.
Yeah, that's a great question, because I can only to that question I can talk 5 days on. Because it's very interesting. To get back to history, there when I started working a long time ago, there we had some customer models. I don't know if you're familiar with the RFM methodology. So it's recency, frequency, monetary value, but it scores your customers into quality groups. In fact, that model is still stable. It's still usable. Only the landscape is different because it's now online. So first, what I always do is I want to know how many customers do we have and what kind of quality. So if you score them with an RFM methodology, you at least can see, okay, this is our level of acquisition. This is our level of real loyal customers. So there it starts. Second thing is, okay, what is our capability of marketing spend? Because growing in turnover is simple. Give me 300 million of marketing spend and I grow. But of course, what is needed? Do we want to invest now in short term by pushing more acquisition and maybe earn later a lot of EBITDA? Does the company need to be sold? Is it private owned? So within 3 years, push, and then sell? We're more strategical and say, okay, we want to have stable growth, high growth, but stable growth. So it's not for 1 year. We want to invest in healthy growth. What's then healthy growth? That differs per country. So the lifetime value per customer, all those tactics, they differ per country as well. So the cost prices in online per country are really different. The lifetime value, the margins in such a country, because of assortment shifts, are really different, which means your business model is different per country. That also means that your investment per country should be different. So that's how we look at acquisition level. What can we invest to make some kind of profit, but at least grow? Of course, the balance between loyal customers and acquisition customers, hopefully a lot of loyal, but that's difficult. And we were working like a lot of companies as we push with marketing campaigns, and hopefully somebody grabs to it and we have an order. That we are really changing at the moment. Because I think that's the only model which will survive. And that means if you want to have loyal customers, you need to have the right customer journey. Sounds very simple, but it's really difficult because that needs a digital landscape which is able to deal with marketing automation. The marketing automation part is how you technically set it up to use your data points and to push it towards omni-channel channels, to use it in communication. And on communication level, you must think about, okay, if we acquire a customer with Valentine, he's 20 years old and buys something for his girlfriend, what's our next message we want to give them? That's something really different than maybe a 50-year-old who comes with Christmas and buys something for their neighbor or whatever, you know? So that means it has to do with when do people buy, what's the target group, and what's the new communication we need to do. That's why you need the automation, because it's not doable manually for millions of customers. So you need to do it automatically and think about those journeys. And that's where you create loyalty if you do that well. But to be honest, we're now implementing it fully. So we're doing those right first journeys. But I think we're one of the front runners, so to say, because I see some personalization, but it's really at low scale still.
Question: when you operate in 27 different regions, do you do one that's the same, or do you actually localize it as well, depending on characteristics and customs of the country? And how do you adopt to that type of complexity?
Yeah, the complexity must be fulfilled with the technical setup, so the multilingual part, etc., and with AI, and we do a lot. So, but it needs to be solved. That's it's some kind of challenge. And the localization, great question. I think from brand perspective, you can only have one positioning. So when I look at Coca-Cola, Zara, I don't see a lot of brand differences per country. It's still the same brand. That makes it strong. So that's what we want to achieve. If you have the brand positioning with a style guide, that should be fixed. The localization should be in the communication, which can be photography, because Southern Europe people look different than Dutch people, for instance, or Nordic people. It's for sure is different within that commerce calendar, so seasonality peaks, so adapt it at the right time. And it could be different partly in the wording, because the kind of how you say things differs as well per country. With the seasonality, also the assortment shift is there. So for instance, Germany, they buy more chocolate. So that's also localization. We push more chocolate in that country because they like it. That's different than in other countries. So yeah, on assortment level and on communication level, localize it, maybe on photography, but from brand positioning and style guide, everywhere the same.
Love it. And what are some of the biggest challenges you need to solve to hit your plans this year? And how do you plan on solving those issues?
Well, in fact, that was my role, of course, to accelerate growth, which means things needed to be done different. And like building up that CDP and marketing automation is one thing, which we're doing now fully. The other thing is we're in the middle of a repositioning, so sharpen it, make it really a strong brand. And of course, because what I said, stuck in some kind of working maybe, we also have some team challenges. So we see people who are not able to deal with those principles maybe, people who like it very much and want to be the front runners. So yeah, we're changing. I call it this year for us as well, the year of change.
It's awesome. And how do you anticipate AI playing a role in that at all? Like, do you have to see recreating new roles around AI, like specifically in marketing and content is something we're looking at on our end? I'm curious on your side.
Yeah, I think you can solve it in a lot of different ways at the moment. So you could use it as experiments with a lot of people, or we have one huge specialist upon that. He's really great. And we use it mainly for optimizing all kind of processes, which can be translation tools, AI in photography, processes in way of working. We adopt AI and Gemini, etc. as well in the company. So we try to push it to be more effective. So that person also gives workshops within the company how we can improve efficiency. So that's the way at the moment how we deal with it, mainly optimizing processes and all the tasks we have, make them less time consuming.
I love that. Cool. As we look to wrap up this episode, I'm curious, in addition to that, do you have any kind of big projects that you've done in the past that you feel like didn't go to plan, and any cautionary tales of things that you felt like would be a good change to make in a business, but maybe didn't give the results that you were looking for?
Yeah, not did do, but maybe also got stuck in some conflicts in my head and between doing it. That's that part of marketing automation, because it's so complex from the technical landscape decisions, because you have multiple companies who do in CDPs, marketing automation, and they all tell we can do anything. But to get really to the nitty-gritty details is difficult. So what do we really need, and can this handle it? Is this the right digital landscape? Because it's not one big system, it's a combination of systems, because we have a website and so on. And what that means is that because of the complexity and the details, on the technical side is one, on the commercial side is two. So you're thinking about customer groups, journeys, time frames, and so on. And it becomes so complex that you're looking too far to the perfect world, that you can have the really optimized journey. That I've learned in the last years, stop with it. So yeah, think carefully from what are the systems we need, get them in, okay? If the base is there, it's okay. But with journeys, just begin. Get some groups, get some homogeneous target groups, make a scenario and start. And don't think about the ideal world, because you can't figure it out. You need to learn it by doing it.
Love it. Well, thanks, Jacky, so much for your time. Great episode. Really appreciate you taking the time to come on and speak to us.
I loved it. I could talk days about this, so thanks a lot.
Awesome. Thanks, Jacky.
The Ecommerce Toolbox Expert Perspectives is brought to you by Noibu. To find out more about Noibu and how we can help you debug your e-commerce site and rocket your revenue, visit www.noibu.com. That's Noibu.com. And then make sure to search for the Ecommerce Toolbox Expert Perspectives on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and click subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Noibu, thanks for listening.